Good morning, everyone, and welcome to KETIV's Autodesk Virtual Academy. I'm Nigel Mbayak, and it looks like the screen behind me is a little fuzzy today. But anyways, welcome. Today we're going to be going over what's new in Autodesk 2018.1. And so if you are trying to figure out what the .1 is for, I'll explain that really quickly here. So Autodesk has changed the way that they're releasing updates. They want to release more continuous updates so that people are getting more frequent releases as opposed to the once a year big release. So those traditional 2014s, 2015s, 2016s, and then doing service packs to get rid of hot fixes and stuff like that. In this case, this is more than just a regular service pack, where in this case, they're actually adding new functionality to the tool. So you don't have to necessarily wait those 12 months to be able to get something that they've added to the software. You're waiting something more like 2 or 3 months at times, depending on what software you're using. I know that Inventor's already released theirs. AutoCAD released their .1 update, I think in June or July, and it came out in like May. So within 1 or 2 months, you're going to be able to get some of these updates. So we figured, 2018.1. Sometimes these updates aren't super huge. They're adding small functionality. They're adding some interoperability capability. In this case, this one actually is. But on top of that, it's adding a completely new feature that we think is super important to share. Once I got that knowledge, I figured, hey, let's go ahead and share this with everybody. A couple people on the team agreed that what we're going to show you today, which is mainly the shared view functionality in Autodesk Vault 2018, is probably the most important update to the software yet. It's allowing you to be able to connect yourself and your review team, not necessarily to be able to do things like ECOs, but to do more on a hands-off. Where it's, hey, I need to be able to look at that file and just see, hey, is the color correct, or hey, is that measurement correct? You can do some of these things in shared views. So we're going to go over all of that, how to be able to get that as well. If you have any questions, definitely type them into the chat panel, and we're going to go ahead and go take care of those during the dedicated Q&A at the end of this. I think that's just about everything, but definitely welcome. And let's go ahead and get started. Cool. So like I mentioned, what's new in Autodesk Vaults 2018.1? We'll move along here. So here's just a quick summary of the things that they've added in Autodesk Vault 2018, right? So if maybe you're on 2016 or 2017, you haven't really looked at the 2018 stuff yet, there are a couple of things that they included. So the ability to connect engineering data and keep teams on the same page, right? They created that enhanced design experience, as well as they've enabled some task delegation, right? So what that means is they've added 3 new admin roles to Vault, so that you don't necessarily have to give people full admin to be able to do things like explicit deletes of files, or even some of the security aspects of Vault as well. Really big is the thing in the center there, engineering efficiency. Essentially, what they did in Autodesk Vault 2018 is they included this PDF publishing capability, so that when you do release a file of type IDW or DWG, if that file goes to release, you can trigger the Vault to create a associated PDF to that file with the same rev, in the same location or another one that you denote, right? So this is really big. So sometimes, you are generating those secondary PDFs to be able to give to people on the shop floor, or maybe give to people out in industry, or, people in sales if they really want to see some of these files. Now Vault's going to be able to do that for you. You're going to be able to save that native IDW or DWG file down. Once you bump the rev or go to release, the only trigger is to go from anything to released. Once that happens, it generates that PDF for you, and you can go ahead and share that file with everybody, as opposed to giving people your IP, your full actual model, and things like that when you're giving them the IDW file or DWG file itself. Just a couple things they added in 2018. If you want to see this fully in depth, we did an AVA on this with Irvin Hayes, who is one of the project managers at Autodesk for Vault. And he went over this. If you just type what's new into Autodesk Vault 2018 on YouTube, you'll be able to find that video. So the Autodesk 2018.1 update. So this update kind of focuses on that continuous update process, right? Like I mentioned, they're going to be releasing more and more of these. You can expect probably a 2018.2 sometime in the next few months here. And it does increase the efficiency by delivering capability to include stakeholder feedback during the work in progress design. So what that really means is it's the main feature in 2018.1 is the share view feature that allows you to be able to share that design review experience with people outside of the design team, sometimes not necessarily having that CAD file on or CAD tool on their machine. And you can do that with things like the thin client as well. That actually give thin client and Vault Office that give you a bit more flexibility. But if you just need to really quick send something to somebody just so they can sign off on it, look at it and be like, that looks okay, the share view will work for you. There in the center, the expanded interoperability. This is kind of an extension, right, of the AnyCAD functionality in Autodesk Inventor. So the big missing tool in regards to the AnyCAD functionality to maintain those linked file types was Solidedge. It was pretty much the only one out of the major CAD players that was not capable in AnyCAD as of the 2018 release. 2018.1 in both Inventor and Vault have added that support so that those files can remain associative to your original models. You're not necessarily converting them and going through. We'll go over that in a little bit. I have a short video kind of demonstrating that. And then Vault Ideas. So I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but there is an idea station for Vault specifically. And what that is it allows the community, people like yourself and myself, to go and make suggestions as to what we want the Autodesk team to put into a future version of Vault. They do keep track of this. The more people who have the same idea as you, you can upvote people's ideas. The more upvotes it has, the more visibility it has to the team. They're monitoring that all the time. And tons of features have come from the idea station and been implemented in the last couple of versions. So we'll kind of go over that process as well. Like I mentioned, the big thing in 2018.1 is the shared view functionality. So we're going to be kind of focusing on that. Cool. Let's move on. So traditionally, a big hurdle for people to be able to share and collaborate CAD files is the inability for consumers to consume those without the native CAD modeler. So generally, people have been sharing PDFs with each other, or they've been sending CAD files to each other where you have to worry about file translation. Maybe you have to go to StepFile or IGES. Or maybe you don't even want to give your intellectual property to somebody else, because sometimes those reviewers or those people who are consuming your files aren't people you really want to share that IP with. And then the communication back and forth. If you send a PDF in an email, you kind of have to track that email. Excuse me. If people need to do markups, right, maybe they'll print that PDF, do their red lines on it, and then send it back to you in a scan. That's not ideal, right? You want to be able to maintain and keep track of all of these reviews and red lines and things like that. So what they've done is they've added some new features in Vault, like I mentioned, the shared view functionality, to be able to do some of that. And so Vault has created a share and collaboration platform all in one place, essentially using the shared view functionality to do this. If you've been in the Autodesk Vault beta or the Inventor beta, you've probably heard of things using the same technology to be able to do things like this. This is kind of an extension of that. So what it's using is it's using the A360 viewer functionality to be able to pull these files from your Vault and put them on the cloud so consumers can see them. We'll go over some of those details here pretty shortly. In addition to that, they can add comments and give you feedback on your files directly inside Vault. And I'll show what that interface looks like here pretty shortly. Again, shared views is something that's available in 2018.1, and it's a benefit only available to people who are subscribers. So that means if you have an active subscription to Autodesk Vault Professional or Work Group, or you have a current, or you're on current maintenance as well. So make sure you don't drop off that maintenance and don't drop off those subscriptions so you have access to this tool. So reviewers, in this case, so that those customers, those suppliers, and those people on the shop floor don't have to install any additional software to access, view, or measure these files. Essentially, all they need is access to a web browser. Anyone works. I'm using Chrome, and I haven't run into any issues yet. So definitely keep that in mind. So we're going to go over really quick. There's a short video here, and then I'm going to do this live as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and play this. Hopefully this comes across pretty well. So the first thing you're going to recognize here is the shared view functionality. There is that button in the top right-hand corner of the screen. What you can do is you can either click that or right-click the product or the file you want to share and hit share view. This is a lot faster than it happens in real time, so I might pause this video every once in a while to go over that. Let me pause this for a second. So essentially what happened there is they right-click the file, hit the share view functionality, and what that does is it uses the Vault client to be able to upload that file into an A360 viewer pretty much. And so what it does is, once that upload's completed, the engineer in this case is able to see the shared views that they have in that browser bar on the right-hand side of the screen. You can see it's labeled shared views, and it shows all of your shared views. These things last for 30 days. In this case, they're going to go ahead and click that copy link and then be able to give that to some consumers of the files. So in this case, they copied that link and they sent it to somebody, or they just opened it in their browser. This is the browser interface that you get. If you think this is pretty familiar, it's because they're using the same technology that they use for things like A360, things like Fusion Team, BIM 360 Team, etc. This is using that same viewer functionality. So pretty much any file that you have in there that is able to be created visually via A360, you can do the same thing through Vault. So you can do full-blown assemblies. You can even do IDW files or DWG files. Sorry if I sound really weird. I'm like at a weird angle to the microphone right now. So let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like from the viewer's perspective and what they're able to do in regards to reviewing the design. Like I mentioned, those reviewers don't need Autodesk products to be able to look at the drawings or the native data. It's a big deal. Before, people had to install things like TrueView, or they had to install the actual CAD product to be able to look at these. So once they click on that link, it opens through here. You have the ability to explode. You can zoom in. You can isolate components like they're doing right now. And you have the ability to measure. That's really huge, right? So people on the shop floor who might need to measure the distance between certain features, you can do that. Once you want to add comments to that, like this user is doing right now, you're going to have to log in as an Autodesk user. Those are free. Generally, anyone who's using Autodesk products already has a username. But if you are sending this to people who don't necessarily use the CAD tools, which is going to be a lot of people in this case, they can just create a free account to be able to add comments and print those files and things like that. Also copy a link as well. So once this comment's added, we're going to see that once you post it, it does follow back to the Vault side. So you can see that comment was created. And if you go back into Vault and you hit this refresh button here in that browser window, it shows that comment was made. You can go ahead and reply to that comment as well. And if you want to go back to it, you can totally just double click that and go to that comment. Like I mentioned, it is uploading from your client to the cloud, so these bigger assemblies might take a little bit longer, but they do last for 30 days, and it's pretty much dependent on your network speed. So if your network speed's really good, it might actually upload really quickly. I uploaded maybe a 100-part assembly earlier that I'm going to share with all of you here shortly in the chat, so keep an eye out for that. That's going to happen here shortly, and we'll show you how that looks. So if you go ahead and look at that file again, you can go ahead and reply to comments, and then you can go ahead and post those. And then people on the other side will be able to see those comments. They stay with that file. And I think that's it for this particular video. So let me go back to my normal seating arrangement here and do that. To answer Marcel's question there, does it matter what state the file is in? So generally, no, you can go ahead and share released files if you really want to. I think the file that I'm sharing today is not released. Anyways, here's my vault. Earlier, I did a couple of these shares, and I'm going to go ahead and share one with you guys right now. So here's the Ember assembly, and I'm going to go ahead and click these ellipses right here. Sorry if it's hard to hear me. I'm going to go ahead and copy that link. It's copied to my clipboard right now, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat. So if you guys want to look at the actual file, you can see it from the reviewer's perspective. Like I mentioned, if you're not logged into the if you're not logged into your Autodesk account, it'll prompt you to log in if you want to be able to comment on this file. You can do a bunch of stuff like that. Cool. So I'll let that sit there for a little bit. And let me continue with this. All right. Like I mentioned, you've got that full new shared view command. The file is locally translated and uploaded to A360, and the link is copied to be able to share with anybody. Those reviewers have access to be able to comment on those files, as well as open them in any browser, right? So I haven't tried this on mobile yet, but it should be the exact same to be able to open this viewer in mobile. I think it's Flash enabled, if I remember correctly. I need to double check that. But we'll move on from here. This shared view browser, tree, or not tree necessarily, that piece of the browser is able to be undocked from the vault itself. If you want to move it to another screen, you can move that interface over if you'd really like to. I know a lot of people do like doing that. You can go ahead and search in there if you have a lot of shared views to be able to navigate. And then you can even extend those shared views, right? So like I mentioned earlier, they're available for 30 days. Once that goes up, the link comes down. But if you want to, have a longer review process and you want to extend that, you can do that from within that interface itself. So that's shared views. We'll go ahead and answer any questions. I know there are probably a couple right now about how this all works. Things like temporary shares and stuff like that. Let me go ahead and expand my questions real quick. So I have a lot of questions. If you have any questions real quick about shared views, go ahead and post them in here. We're going to take a break for a second and answer these questions before we move on to the AnyCAD integration. So let's see here. Our customers typically insert our shrink-wrapped CAD files into their design. Can you attach a shrink-wrapped step file to the shared view so that their approval is linked to the model they would insert into their design? So no, you actually don't have downloadability of the files through the shared views, but you can, if you have that shrink-wrapped step file, you can do a share from that file itself, but they don't have the ability to download from there. Let's see. How easy is it to redact access to a shared view, i.e. for sensitive data shared temporarily? You can just right-click it in your Vault browser and delete it. If you only want people to have that shared view for like half an hour, and then that link doesn't work anymore. So yeah, it can be a shorter period than 30 days. You just hit delete on the shared view. So those are those questions for shared views. Let's go ahead and move on to some of that AnyCAD functionality next. So AnyCAD is like near and dear to my heart. It's one of my favorite things. It's one of the first things that I really focused on when I was here at KETIV is that interoperability between CAD files. I know that's a huge obstacle for a lot of organizations. I know that when I was working in on projects and stuff, that getting multiple CAD files is like the biggest nightmare, especially if changes happen to those CAD files and I need to compile them all into an assembly. Sometimes I have to completely reassemble my thing, do all those constraints and joints again. Not fun. And so things like the AnyCAD functionality, where it does link that original CAD file to the Inventor converted file, is huge in that sense. Like I mentioned earlier, the only big player that was missing in regards to AnyCAD functionality and support was Solidedge. That changed as of 2018.1. Woohoo, that's awesome. And so for those of you who don't know what the AnyCAD functionality is, I'll show a quick video here and share what that looks like. So with the Inventor 2018.1 update, you're able to place a Solidedge file like it is here into your Inventor model as a reference model, right? Not just a converted file, but a reference model. That means you can start using Inventor 2018 to collaborate with other users, maybe in your organization or outside, that are using Solidedge data. So it recognizes that whole Solidedge assembly and that structure in the Vault browser there on the right-hand side. So I'm going to pause this again. As you can see here, the actuator clamp assembly and its associated parts are recognized in that Vault browser, and you're able to check those in, and Vault understands that those file linkages exist, much like Inventor does, so that those files remain together. Don't run into these things where you're running into cases where you've got file linkage errors or it can't find that linked file. Not going to happen with Vault. So let's just continue this here. You can check it in. It fully goes into Vault. If you go to that Vault folder, it's going to open an instance of Vault Professional there, and it's going to be able to see that, hey, your Solidedge data is referenced by AnyCAD, and you've got full where used and used in capability as well. In addition to that, you can even execute assign item capability on these Solidedge assemblies, even if you do not have a Solidedge specific add-in for your Vault implemented. The Vault predefined numbering scheme applies to those Solidedge components and bill materials information, things like description, things like material number, materials. Those are all extracted from that Solidedge file and they're displayed in Vault. Similarly, this also works with SolidWorks, things like that as well. If you want to know more about AnyCAD functionality, we do have a couple of AVAs on it that I actually did, so I'm going to actually point you towards those so you can listen to me more, maybe. I don't know. So here's a question that's come up a couple times in the chat. I haven't answered this yet because of this slide specifically. How do I get Vault 2018.1? There are a couple of ways to do this. This is the easiest way. Go ahead and go to your Autodesk account portal. That's going to be manage.autodesk.com. And then you're going to be able to go into the product enhancements, which is that red box. I know it's very small, but it's there on the bottom half of the screen on the left-hand side. It says product enhancements. If you click through there, you're going to get that window that's boxed there at the bottom right-hand side of this screen. And you're going to be able to download the Vault updates. There are 3 updates, I believe. It's going to be your Vault 2018.1 update for the client, the 2018.1 update for the server, and the 2018.1 update for the Autodesk Vault file server. You only need the client and the server if your file store is located on the same place as your Vault. There are some people with really specific configurations in which their file store is not on the same local machine as their Vault. In that case, you're going to need the AVFS installer as well for that file server. That's a really rare occurrence. I'm going to assume that none of the people on this call right now have that. So only really worry about that client and that server. If you have any questions about that, let us know. We can redirect you to our Lifeline team. They'll be able to help you get this access for Vault 2018.1. Also note, if you go ahead and Google 2018.1 Vault on your internet browser, there is going to be a README file. Or if you go ahead and click any of these download links, there will also be a README file as well. You're going to want to do everything it says on that README file in regards to doing a small migration of your database and to do an IIS reset. So make sure you follow all of those explicitly so you don't break your Vault when you do the update. For those of you who are on KETIV's Vault Care services, this is something we'll take care of for you. So you don't have to really worry about that. If you want to go ahead and schedule that, go ahead and give a call to your sales representative, or Mike or Jose, and they'll be able to take care of that for you. I do see a couple of VaultCare customers in the attendee list right now. And again, you want to be able to make your voice heard. There are a lot of things that I've heard from customers over and over again. I want this in Vault. I want this in Vault. I want this in Inventor. I want this in AutoCAD. The more and more I hear that, the more and more I point them towards the idea page, right? So that's that link there at the bottom, that idea station, to be able to share your ideas for future features that you want, or future interoperability and things like that. So the Vault team can see them. If more than one person shares that need, it'll be higher on their priority list. Also, the Vault beta community as well. That's something you can sign up for. I do see a couple of people in the chat right now that are on the beta and are working on some really cool stuff that I can't talk about. Mentioning a couple of people that I visited pretty recently that use some of the same technology that I showed today in regards to the shared views for something a little bigger. So if you're really interested in seeing what's going to happen maybe in the 19, 20, 21 release of Vault, definitely check out that beta page and sign up for that. So with that, we'll go ahead and take some questions. With that as well, I'm going to go ahead and jump back into the I'll jump back into the Vault here and see what comments came through, because hopefully some people left some comments on my Ember assembly. So I'm going to go ahead and, yeah, so we're getting some comments from some people. Great stuff. Let's print something cool. Thanks for sharing. Awesome. So yeah, this is one of the Autodesk 3D printers, the Ember printer. So yeah, like I mentioned, these comments do show up. I can go ahead and resolve these comments if I really wanted to. If it was like, say I wanted to make a change, or if it's prompted me to make a change, hey, make a change to this file, change the dimension of this, change the color, change the material of this, and you make that change, you can go ahead and resolve that as well. From within Vault, if you want to look directly at that, you can hit the Autodesk Vault viewer here. And like I mentioned, you do have the ability to extend that share or delete it if you want to keep it shorter than 30 days. It's kind of big for a lot of people. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these questions. Sorry if I sound really muffled today. Not feeling super awesome. But let's see here. Cool. No questions from the YouTube / Slack end of things. And let's see here. Yeah, so one thing to note when you're doing this shared view that I wanted to share, wow, that's a lot of share in one sentence, with everybody, is when you're completing the share, let me move over so I can see this other screen. I'm actually working off of 3 screens right now. So if you are doing a share, it's going to lock up your Vault while it's converting and uploading that file. So let me go ahead and do that. So if you do have a larger assembly, I know a lot of our customers have assemblies in the very large scale. When you do this share view from here, or if you click up here, you can do it either way. It's going to prompt you to make a name. If you want to learn more, it'll pretty much give you a document stating all of the things that I said today in regards to what it's functional with and things like that. If I hit this share button, it's going to lock up my Vault while it's processing this. Essentially, I can't do anything. Like, as you can see, I'm clicking around the box. It's not letting me do anything. Don't worry. If you want to use your Vault still, you can just open another session, which I'm going to do right now. And it's actually on my other screen. Let me move it over. So while this is processing that assembly to be able to put into the cloud, I do have access to my Vault. Let me carry all of this over, log in, and you can just have a second instance of Vault working. So there's that assembly, and here's that. So I know a lot of people who, when we were testing this, we were putting files with thousands of components into the cloud. And that was taking some time. So if we needed to work in Vault, we were doing it from there. It doesn't lock you from being able to do check-in and check-out in Inventor. You can still do stuff like that. You just can't use the actual Vault client that you have open. It's not going to take up another license because it's on the same machine. So even if you have 10 instances of Vault, you're only going to take up one license if you're using network licenses. So you can view in browser, copy link. That's pretty much what I showed you guys earlier. And once that's done, you have all of those shares, and then you can use your Vault again. Let's see here. Any change in copy design in 2018.1? So no, there haven't been any changes to copy design in 2018.1. There were some changes to copy design in 2018, like that just flat RTM release. If you want to know what those were, they're pretty minor. They weren't like huge. If you want to know what those were, we do have some articles on the KETIV blog about that. Sharing multiple files with one person, how would they manage that? Essentially, they get different links for each file. So each file has a unique Autodesk viewer link. So they would just manage that by having multiple links. And that link doesn't change for those 30 days. So yeah, just keep that in mind. I think that's everything. Let's see here. Yeah, that's just about everything. I'll give everyone another 30 seconds or so, not 30 minutes, to go ahead and ask any more questions they do have. Just make some announcements. So starting next week, we've got a 5-part AVA series that we're doing with ourselves and Autodesk in regards to some workflows that we've come up with and some solutions that Autodesk has come up with in regards to helping your organization hit those crucial deadlines. So that's a big obstacle for everyone. It is here for KETIV. I'm sure it is in the manufacturing industry and even the AEC industry as well. You do have those deadlines you have to hit. Sometimes you're cutting it super close. Sometimes you're even late. And when you're late or cut it super close, that can cost your company, manufacturing time. That means sometimes you get to market second, which is not something anyone really wants, right? You want to get to the market before the competition does. And so there are some workflows that are enabled by Autodesk products to be able to improve that entire process and get your stuff to market first. And so a couple of solutions. So those solutions include things like iLogic, things like using some of the advanced functionality within Vault itself. Talking about things like the ERP integration in Vault. Things like Fusion Lifecycle to be able to connect multiple work groups in an organization to be able to speed up some of these processes, as well as traditional things like your simulation tools to be able to reduce the amount of physical prototyping you're making and getting to market faster. Good questions. Can they print from A360 like a 2D drawing? So from the Autodesk viewer, you do have the ability to print. I haven't played with it too much. We'll try right now. Radu, 1 second. Let me get to there. Let's see. Only the person who shared the file will see the comments coming back, or do those go into the properties of the file? I believe they're only tied to the person who shares the files, Vault client. I'd have to double check that. But I think it's only tied to this person's client, and it's not like tied to the file itself. Let me go back to it. Which one did I share? I shared this one. Can I go to it from here? Well, while we're doing this anyways, I'm going to open this in my browser. And I'm going to go to that assembly in my Vault anyways to do that. So we'll answer Radu's question first. Can you print? There's print functionality here. So yeah, you do get that print. If you're doing a 3D file, it's in the actual view that you're in at that point in time. So I guess if you explode this, you can print it as that exploded view. I haven't actually tried that. So you can print like PDFs and stuff out of here. If they were like DWGs or IDWs, you'd be able to print that. The file properties of that probably won't carry, actually definitely won't carry over if you print it. So hopefully that answers your question, Radu. Looks like it did. No problem. So I'm going to cancel out of there. And then to answer your question, Marcella, let me do some research on that. Marcella, I'm going to try that offline and see what it looks like. I'll mess with this with Jorge. I can't log in to my Vault as another user. Well, I can. It'll just take some time. But I'll do that offline and I'll get back with you. I do have your contact information. I think that's it for questions. So definitely, hopefully this helped. That we thought that this knowledge was totally worth sharing in regards to the capabilities. It does answer a lot of questions that people had and some problems and obstacles people had in regards to sharing these files. Whereas traditionally you'd have to use something full-blown, like maybe Vault replication to be able to share with some people, or have to hand walk. This is like horrible. Hand walk drawing files across, you know, an entire campus, or all the way to your shop floor, and then you don't get those updates to that file. That was a big deal for a lot of people, and hopefully this goes ahead and updates that as well. So if you do have any questions, definitely let us know. questions@ketiv.com. That'll come straight to me, and a couple of other people on the team will be able to get to those. If you have any questions in regards to getting 2018.1 on your system, maybe you're not on that release yet, right? You're not on 2018 yet. If you have questions on how to do that, let us know. I did a AVA on how to migrate your Vault last week, so you can watch that if you're not on that version yet, or if you just want someone to give you a full hands-off experience. We have a lot of people on our team who do Vault upgrades and Vault services pretty much all day. So thanks everybody for being here today, and yeah, we'll see you all next week for the beginning of the Meeting Deadlines webinar series. So see you then. Bye.